Hi, I'm Rachel Allan. I'm a marketer, speaker, coach and author. I was a proud facilitator of marketing conversations for the second time and brought myself and 7 other amazing speakers together to talk about marketing, mindset and business. And this is the recording of one of our speakers. Enjoy. Janelle, who is based in Geelong, and she is, in my opinion, the #1 speaker coach in the world.
You just can't see me.
I can't see you in blackness.
I'm really going to have to get my tonality of my voice happening for you all.
I know. And yeah, so she's here to talk to you about public speaking. For a lot of people, it scares the absolute bejesus out of you to think about standing up and speaking and talking to a group of people. But it is also, it's a bit like writing a book. It's about putting yourself out there and showing up as that expert in your area as well. So I know JJ's going to take us on a journey this morning that talks all about it. So over to you in darkness while we keep trying to get you out.
What do you want to know?
How about that? I think for a lot of people, if you have questions, do pop them in the chat box. For a lot of people, it's that initial, putting together a speech that you're comfortable with.
Yeah. Well, I think the first thing is that, what is your purpose? And I think I loved listening to Megan just before in regards to her finding her purpose, because whatever we're speaking about, it's about how are we going to make change, what is our objective and what is our purpose. And when we're really in line with that, then it's all about getting that content ready for your audience. And also in regards to how you're going to do it. So often we look at when we're going to speak, and 95% of the time before we speak, most people spend it on the content. It's what am I going to say? And it's all about the structure, which is fantastic. It's very important to have a clear structure when you're speaking. However, one thing that people miss out on is how they're going to do it. So the delivery of their speech. And often there's hardly any time even thought about how you're going to deliver that. So because we've got a purpose, because we want to create change, we want people to do something differently when we speak, whether it be by our services, whether it be create a change in their life. It's so important for us to be able to deliver that in a way that's going to create that change. And so being able to really think about, how am I going to deliver this content? Where am I going to pause? How am I going to use my voice? Where am I going to stand? What props will I have? What stories will I tell? What metaphors will I tell? All of that, really thinking about how you're going to do what you do with your speech. And often, if we think about it, there's been some amazing speakers that have got great content, but we can completely switch off if we're not engaged. So it's really important of how we do things when we're going to speak. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can still hear you.
Beautiful.
Oh, I thought we were almost going to see you then too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to happen.
No. Oh, well. So once you have your content together for your speech, I suppose the next thing is to get the confidence to put yourself out there and promote yourself as a speaker.
Yes, well, that's really important. And I think social media is huge, as you know. And it's about persistence. It's about continually persisting and persisting. I think often people want to be, we want this instant gratification, and with our profiles, we need to build that trust. People need to see what we're made of, and that's not built overnight often for most people, or for most of us. So it's about being persistent. It's about being persistent, but also consistent with your brand. So what are you, Megan mentioned before, she said, I don't put a lot of negativity or sadness in my posts on Facebook. And so what do you stand for? What is it that your brand is, and being consistent with that, so that the people that are starting to follow you know what you're about. They know, whether it be fun, whether it be not taking yourself too serious, whether it be about, just whatever your brand is, it's about making sure that you're consistent with that.
Yeah. And have you got tips for finding the speaker session? There's obviously a lot of groups that you can contact, but again, it takes that confidence to put yourself out there. What's the best way, and what tools can you use to actually find the place to speak?
Yeah, I think the best piece of advice I would say is that so often people are waiting for other people to notice them or to offer them something, so it's like Rachel, you saying, okay, JJ, come on this talk with me today. That's fantastic for people to ask you for things, ask you to be a speaker. But the thing is that you have the ability to create your own opportunities. And I think that is crucial to being able to get yourself out there even more. So it's about, when I started, and this is my second business, when I started, I didn't wait for someone to have an event for me to speak in. I created my own. I created my own mastermind group. So I created those opportunities. So with your Facebook, there's so many. We're so fortunate these days that we can get on and we can talk to thousands of people at once. When I had my first business, I could never do that. Everything was old school, like snail mail and fax machines, and so for me, I was really quite aggressive doing that. But now we can, at any stage, like after I speak to you, Rachel, I can just say, oh, you know what, I'm going to get on Facebook and talk about whatever I'm going to deliver to help to add value to my listeners, and it's a press of a button. Mm-hmm. So I think it's really about creating your own opportunities. And then when you do have opportunities, then promote the shit out of it. Like really promote the shit out of it. If you're on radio, make sure you tell the world about it. I think, and I can see that most of your clients, Rachel, are females. I often say this, females so they undersell themselves a lot of the time, when men, not all, but men can oversell and women can undersell. And so it's like, should I tell everyone that I've been on radio? Or maybe that's bragging. No, it's about branding. It's about people knowing who you are and building that confidence and credibility and trust with those that are watching you.
Yeah. Absolutely. And again, that comes back to confidence of just going, you just got to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is that people have such a fear of being judged. Such a fear, and it's absolutely natural. But when you can really, firstly, it's about being really, it's about your purpose and helping people. Mm-hmm. But also knowing, yes, you will be judged either way. And not taking yourself so seriously, and how you're communicating to yourself. So it's like right now, Rach, like we've got on a call. I'm a public speaking coach, and you can't see me, right? Now, what do you do about that? Do you actually go, oh my goodness, something went wrong? Or do you say, you know what? Let's just go with it. Let's have fun with it. It's not the end of the world. And I think sometimes we can think those things. We can get up on stage, or we can do a Facebook Live. Something doesn't work, because as humans, we love certainty. But being able to go, you know what, let's just go with it. Let's just have fun and serve whoever's watching us, really help those people that are watching us.
It's one thing I really love about you is that the serving. And I think one of the things I learned from you in one of your trainings was, you know, if you're feeling nervous, it's because you're thinking about yourself too much, and you're not there to think about yourself. You're there to serve the room.
Absolutely. And, you know, and when you really think about it, as you are serving people, I've got my husband here.
We can't see him. It doesn't matter.
We can't see him because the camera is not working. So, you know, when you are being nervous, you are communicating about yourself. So think about it. If you're on a Facebook Live, if you're standing up speaking, anytime you are nervous, you are communicating and thinking about yourself. So you're either saying, oh, I hope they like me. I hope I remember what I'm going to say. I hope, whatever you're thinking, you're communicating about you. As soon as you shift that focus and say, I am here to help these beautiful human beings in the room or that are watching me on camera, and you shift that focus, you cannot be nervous because it's not about you anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Facebook Lives. I know a lot of people get so nervous about jumping on a Facebook Live. What sort of, you know, we know they work. So what's your thoughts around, you know, running a good Facebook Live?
Yeah, well, firstly, one strategy I can give you, and I loved, I don't know if the listeners are here, know of Mel Robbins. Well, Mel Robbins had a book, the 5-second rule, which I absolutely love. So saying 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and pressing that button, because you can have the best content and the best structure in the world, but if you're not pressing the button and going live, you're not talking to anybody. So one of the strategies I would say is that sometimes we can procrastinate and try and be as perfect as we can. Have a structure, yes, but then get it done. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, press that button and go, because if you're waiting for perfection, it will never happen. The structure, how I think in chunks. So we can only, the human mind can remember 5 to 7 chunks of information at a time. What we can often do is we can get overwhelmed, because if you think about a lot of people when they think about their speech, they write notes and notes and notes and notes and notes. And that's the great strategy for overwhelm, because how are you going to remember all those notes, right? And then we play that strategy of perfectionism. We've got to remember every single word that we're supposed to say. So for me, it's really about chunks. What are those 5 to 7, not even 5, it could be 3. What are those chunks of information that you want to nail? So what's your introduction? What is your, so you might say it as, this is my introduction. I might say what I'm going to talk about. Then I'm going to say how I can help you and why, that, you know, so what my why, my how, and what's your catchphrase at the end and your call to action, and then close. So there's lots of different ways you can do it, but thinking in chunks, and then also thinking about how, you know, what is your objective and your message for your viewers before you even get your content together, because again, it's not about you. It's about serving the people in front of you.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, a word that gets bandied around a lot, authenticity. I think you've kind of skirted around it a little bit. How can you be authentic but then go out and still sell yourself? Yeah,
so authenticity has been thrown a lot around, and it's important. It is so important. And I teach, I know people say, how do you teach authenticity? I coach authenticity. I suppose I don't teach authenticity, I coach it. So I see people that have a mask. And we know, right? So the listeners, I want you guys to think about the times when you know that you have a mask on. You might be going into a party and you might behave in a certain way that you know, this isn't truly me. So sometimes people come with a mask and it's like this tough exterior. but they've really got some real beautiful softness underneath. Or there's the person that comes in and as a speaker, this interior is so nurturing and soft, but they're a pushover, right? But they have got a bit of, I call it grrr. They've got that grrr in them. They have got, this is what we need. And so authenticity for me is we are complex human beings. We all, including myself, have times where we wear masks. And to notice those masks, and those masks that we put on are for us to protect ourselves. And so to notice what that mask is and to be able to drop that mask and tap into the different sides of you. So, we all have different sides of us, and being able to tap into those different sides so that we can achieve the goals that we want and to also be able to serve the people in front of us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it just keeps coming back to, if you understand your purpose and you understand you're there to serve people, then the rest kind of just flows.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. So it's, really being mindful of the people in front of you, and the authenticity and just letting yourself be and embrace those mistakes that we all make. It's human. People want to deal with humans. They don't want to deal with robots.
No, not yet anyway.
Yeah, not yet. I was watching a YouTube clip the other day, and it had really interesting content. I don't know if you've seen these YouTube clips, and they have a robotic voice talking. Yeah. And I was doing my head in, Rachel. I'm like, please, I want to hear a human voice, for goodness sake.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think that, it's when you get really comfortable with what your content is as well. Does anyone else have some questions for Janelle? How do we get started on our speaker journey?
Well, there's lots of different ways you can get started in your speaker journey. I think the first thing is to be able to put yourself out there. So whether it be on social media, whether it be creating your own groups, creating your own events, not waiting for somebody else, and also being able to network really effectively with your target market. So if you don't know who your target market is, ensure that you do. Find where your target market is, who they are and where they hang out. And then decide if there's opportunities of speaking, making sure that those speaking events, sometimes I say to people at the start, I do trainings throughout the year, as you know, Rachel, but what you cannot substitute is time on your feet, which means that you need to get on your feet speaking as often as possible. You can't substitute reading a book or going to a course with being able to get the hours and being able to get the experience. You need to get on your feet. You need to be heckled. You need to be in times when things don't work out when you're speaking. So I'm glad the camera's not on. I've got my little dog Henry, and now he's moaning. Now he's on my lap. He would have been a good prop, actually. So he's on my lap. I'm just patting him, checking in. Boy.
Well, it is, because you're actually a very animated speaker as well, so I can imagine your arms going everywhere when you've been.
I know.
We've all missed out on that show.
You just got to imagine it, guys. You've got to imagine it. Right? Imagine me I should have been born Italian. I really should have.
Absolutely. And my final question kind of comes back to something that keeps cropping up in my Facebook feed at the moment. Free speaking.
Yes.
Yeah. What's your thoughts on when you do give yourself for free, when you don't give yourself for free, and what you can ask for?
Yeah. Well, I think the first thing is you've got to have a clear strategy of your business model. So I'm re-looking at my model right now, but as a speaker, and it depends on your industry too, but you can have a model, a structure in your business where you can do free events. But as long as you have got the structure of, okay, so I'm doing the free events, what's next for those people? I often say, so with my free events, I give them a taste of what they can learn. And as you know, Rachel, when you get into the course, there is so much more depth. There is so much more to learn. And each one of my courses are based on that. So they might get a little taster. The next one, yes, they do a 2-day speaker course with me, which is in depth. It's about different types of behaviours. It's about structuring your content. It's about being able to deliver a speech without any notes whatsoever. And then the next one is a 3 days masters, which is a lot more intense. It's the next level up. It's speaking on camera. It's running workshops, facilitating. So I have this level, and then I have my platinum clients, which I work one-on-one with. So I have this journey where my clients can go on. And there's a lot of speakers out there that do that have the free event, and then it feeds into their pipeline of their trainings. The risk factor is higher because you're outlaying a lot more money. And so you've got to keep that in mind. You do get more people in your rooms if you do it effectively. But, you know, at the end of the day, you can also decide not to do that. You can decide, I'm not doing that. I'm actually going to charge a small fee maybe and get people in the room. So it depends on what your structure is, but you need to have a clear business model of what you're going to do and where that's going to take your audience. I often say people that, and in my mindset in selling my programs, I really have, I'm actually giving my clients or potential clients a disservice by not giving them the opportunity to work with me. Because as you know, Rachel, with what you know in your business, sometimes people might speak to you, Rachel, and think, oh yeah, I know that. And you know there's so much more you can teach them because you've got so much knowledge. And same with me. It's like people learn behavioural profiling with me and they go, wow, this is massive. And I think, well, that's just the start. Yeah. You know, there's so much. I have the challenge of, with all of my knowledge, is what do I give when? You know, and you've seen me in action, Rachel, and I get a bit excited and I go, okay, I'm just going to give you this. More.
You know, that one day workshop, well, we're now into 3 days, but that's okay.
Because I mean, my intention is to help people. So so my thing would be to really understand what your business model is.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can and we will be sending out links to Janelle's website to you all. I reckon you go and check it out, and depending on how she changes her business model, she does run workshops in Geelong, in Melbourne, in Sydney, in Brisbane, unless you change your model. So yeah, go and hook in with Janelle and get along to one of her workshops when she runs them next.
Thank you, Rachel.
It is amazing. And to actually see her, you've got to go